Daniela, welcome.
Yeah, maybe we can start recording. We are recording. Great. Well, hello everybody. I'm Janice Girardi from Keller Williams Portfolio, and thank you for taking some time to tune in either live or on the recording. And today we've got some great information from 3 great agents that have been busy over the last 90 days and have a successful business, and we were just talking, it hasn't really had much of a hiccup, and thought we would have them share a little bit about what's been working for them. And so I'm really appreciative of all the time. So I thought maybe we could just start off by maybe having you each introduce yourselves, Irene, Laura, and Mark, and just a little bit about your background and whether you're a solo agent team and what your business is like. So Irene, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. Let our guests be first, but that's okay. I'm Irene.
That's okay. We're going to save the best for last.
Okay. All right. Fine. I'll give you that. I'm from this Keller Williams Portfolio office. So Janice, thanks for inviting me here. This is my 29th year in business. We have a small team. It's myself and my husband as the leads. We have 1 agent, 2 admins, 1 licensed and 1 not licensed, and 1 director of operations. And so far this year, we have had 31 deals closed and pending at about 27 million. Okay. Did I miss a question? Did I miss, or was that it?
That was good. That was very succinct and informative. So Laura, your turn.
Sure. So Laura Inward, I'm out of Keller Williams Advantage down in Leslieville, the beach. I've been in business for the past 8 years. My husband prior to that was a realtor. We went through kind of a transition. When you see us, we're always the Barrett Inward group. Frankly, the Barrett is just in name, not really involved in the business at all anymore. He's a volleyball coach. So I run the business. I have 1 full-time agent, 1 part-time agent who's really about 25% engaged in real estate. And then I have a full-time operations manager and a virtual assistant who works part-time for us. So year to date, we've done 29 transactions, 35 million. We have 6 active listings and about 20 buyers under contract right now. And our year to date, we are actually up about 20 to 30% over where we were last year at this time. So we have not seen any decline at all in our business. In fact, I would say it's ramped up since March.
Good. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that and how you got there. Mark, why don't you wrap us up on introductions?
Sure. My name is Mark Arnstein. I'm with Remax Hallmark in Toronto. I actually have my own satellite office, so I'm not out of our main office, which is down at 717, actually, ironically, right across the street from Keller Williams Portfolio, up on the 2nd floor. I have a small team, 2 agents that work with me as well. We did have a full-time assistant, non-licensed. However, she was about to get fired before this whole thing started, so she got laid off instead. And in the midst right now of trying to find someone else to replace her. So, which has not been easy because I'm pulling my hair out trying to find someone that can do what I want them to do. So it's been fun. Business-wise, so because the price range generally I operate in, my volume is not necessarily unit-wise as high, but my dollar volume is more. So we're about 35 million in the year to date, just myself. And I've done, I think, 15 transactions. So
good price point to be in.
It's a very nice price point to be in. Yes, it's great because it's that nice balance between you don't have to run around like a maniac and still make a lot of money at the same time. So which is great.
Good. Well, if anyone wants to be in that snack bracket, I didn't mention this earlier, but if you can virtually raise your hand, or if you have a question, just type it in the chat box and we'll make sure some of your questions get answered. So Mark, why don't you start us off? Like a lot of what we find is, especially with a lot of stuff that's going on around us, mindset and focus is really key to a lot of like continuing on some of the basic things that you have to do. What have you found that you've done differently or have incorporated or still doing that you did in the past to really filter out, the stuff that's going on to keep the volume and the business and the transactions that you've been doing?
I've always been a big component of video. We do video virtual tours for all of our listings. We do all kinds of videos on a regular basis. And when I say video, I'm not just talking about like a video of, a bunch of slideshow video style, or just, pictures of the house as you move along and kind of someone doing an over the voice narration of some fancy English accent. I'm talking about actually putting yourself physically into the video and telling people and educating people as to why they want to buy this house or why they should buy this house. And, unfortunately, it loses a little bit of the zip, because when you were doing open houses, it was great because people literally would walk in and they'd be like, "Hi, Mark, how are you?" I'm like, I'm great. How are you? I'm like, "Sorry, we met?" And they're like, "No, but I watched your video, so I feel like I already know you." So, I mean, which just puts you at a whole different operational level compared to other people that are out doing this, right? Because now they're fully engaged by the time they walk in the door, and it just makes a massive difference. So, we've, really embraced Zoom, obviously, which has been huge, and maintain that video. We started a whole video profile interviews with from local experts to local merchants to just talking about different topics, anything to do how their businesses were being affected during COVID, to tips and tricks from health and wellness, fitness instructors, nutritionists, psychotherapists, you name it. We've been talking to kind of everybody. Then we started kind of readapting them and going into like a more roundtable style discussions, which have been a lot of fun doing those. But it's just, having fun with the video play. And, this is going to continue for a while, most likely. And if you're not ready to embrace video, you are going to have a hard time moving forward in this business for sure. That's my best advice.
Good. I think you just encapsulated all 8 questions I was going to ask today.
Sorry.
So thank you. And that's a wrap, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Great. Okay. Gotta go. Bye.
I love it. Laura, maybe you can share one thing, talk a little bit about mindset, like what you're doing to stay focused, but sure, as well, following on what Mark was had led into, like what would you attribute some of your success over the previous 90 days, where some haven't had as much?
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, mindset is just really about surrounding yourself with the kind of people that promote the same kind of thinking that you have, or at least even elevate your thinking from where you're at. Like I didn't spend a lot of time when this whole thing started being with the people that were, really thinking this was going to be devastating and, oh, whoa, what's going to happen? I mean, certainly I went there at times, but I chose not to invest in that emotionally. And so I think in order to succeed at a high level at any time, whether there's a global pandemic going on or there isn't, it's really about eliminating distractions from your purpose. So what is your purpose? What are you looking to achieve? And then I always think to myself, when I start to get distracted, or someone's trying to pull me in another direction, or is this moving me closer to or further away from where I choose to be? And if it's moving me further away, then I drop it quickly. And I'm very purposeful in terms of the people I invest my time with, the activities I get involved in. And I think, does this enable me to get closer or further away? And I use that as just a question to myself daily with everything I undertake. And I think, this really challenged that this past few months because there were so many more things that could distract you. Mm-hmm. And I just decided that we were going to prevail through this, and we were going to thrive, and we were going to come out stronger than we went in. And that was the filter that I used as I made choices on a daily basis.
Very cool. Sounds like it served you well. Irene, same question.
Wow, I loved, Laura, I wrote down eliminating distractions from your purpose. I really love that. Thank you. I love that, that combination of words. I tend to be very focused in my thinking and my purpose, and I'm certainly driven by a bigger goal, which is, you know, my family and the well-being of those around me. When all of this started, our team was probably, I shouldn't say, we were about to be the busiest that we were ever going to be, with the number of listings that we had in the pipeline. So when things started to get a little bit scary, we really focused on making sure that our purpose, you know, the most important things were at the forefront. And our big thing, in addition to, of course, our family and keeping the agents in the office motivated, was making sure that we weren't going to have any changes to our team structure. We had just brought on Todd as our director of operations on March 1st. So that timing was pretty interesting. It turned out to be a godsend because the business kept going. But we really didn't want to lay anybody off. We wanted to make sure that our team got paid, and we wanted to make sure to take care of our clients. So that's really what was driving us as a team, Philip and myself, and certainly me being very, very focused on maintaining that kind of balance. And that was sort of the behind the scenes with the team. And we realized very quickly that although the world felt like it was falling apart, there were still people that needed us. There were still buyers and sellers who needed to buy and sell.
Mhm.
Of course, there were lots of people that put their plans on hold or got paralyzed or got scared, but there were still people that needed to transact. And, you know, going back to Laura's idea about surrounding yourself with like-minded people, I jumped on the Pivot Shift Facebook group early. That group started with over 1,000 people. And we are still now 14 weeks in on daily Zoom calls at 8 a.m. where we just talk about what's going on and make sure that we keep each other motivated and inspired. And that really helped me go. And it really helped me stay going, because as positive as I am, there's always things that, you know, like Laura said, they get in your way and they kind of pull at you and tend to distract you. So I found, for me, being in that environment really, really helped, because no matter how bad my morning was when I woke up, I'd get on that call and I would just be ready for my day. So surrounding yourself with the people that will move you forward as opposed to pull you back.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And for those that don't know, there's a MAPS master coach with Keller Williams. His name's James Shaw. And I think around March 16th, 17th, he started this Facebook group, and it's based on the book Shift by Gary Keller. And we mastermind around it every morning, every weekday morning for about 20, 25 minutes. And he'll read a section and a topic. And that group is open to, it's not Keller specific, it's just the concept of shift and how to pivot in that. The group's grown to over 76,000 agents. And the content and, you know, just people masterminding that are sharing how to operate in this environment at a high level. It's powerful. I listen to it every morning. It's really transformed how I consult and work with agents. Yeah, so I just wanted to catch everyone up on that. So the three of you you've done well, and you've grown to teams, but you didn't start like that. And so not everybody that will be tuning in has a team, and some might be aspiring to grow to a team. So and you don't all have to answer, but maybe one can start with what's the one thing that you did to set yourself up to get to where you're at today? Anyone want to touch on that? Or I'm going to pick a name. And you have to answer.
I'll start and maybe inspire the other two. I think the first thing that any agent does is make a mistake in their hiring, and then they make another, and then they make another, and then they make another. And then they take career visioning and they learn how to hire people right. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge figuring out when to hire somebody. It's a challenge to figure out what you want and need. And it's a challenge finding the right people, because we tend to hire out of pain, and we hire people that we like, and they're not necessarily the right people for the job. So I think as long and intense and laborious as career visioning is, because it's 2.5 days, it is time and money well spent, because we all know the cost of a bad hire. and how expensive it could be to our business, both financially and emotionally. So I would say that's the first thing that anybody needs to do, is to take that course to figure out how to do it right.
Well, and then the other thing you got to decide too is like, are you really running your business like a business? Are you a business operator? So like, do you have a business plan, or do you have a set agenda of what you're supposed to be following, where you're tracking all your numbers and you have systems in play that you can actually pass over to the agents that you're going to bring on, as opposed to trying to bring them in cold turkey and then say, okay, here's some stuff, go run with it. So, and I think until you have all that kind of set up and you know where the direction is and where you're growing, how you're going to evolve, you can't really start bringing on agents to go that way. You got to start off with having an assistant first and get someone who's going to really keep you focused on what you have to do, tracking your systems and tracking your numbers. Then you can slowly start to bring in buyer's agents as you're progressing in from that direction. And one of the biggest things I can give for advice wise is just, hire very slowly and fire very quickly. So no, it sounds funny, but it's
Very
true.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I've caught myself, unfortunately about 5 years ago, I went into a partnership relationship instead of hiring agents, and it was like, I have 3 young children, and I was trying to do is a leverage of time aspect, and where 2 heads were better than 1 kind of an idea. And in our business, it doesn't really work. You got to be only 1 head honcho, 1 boss, and then people underneath you, because otherwise there's just not enough of a balance of a skill set that can differentiate the two things that you do, because it's basically real estate is like, it's focused on getting listings, getting deals done, and making things happen. Whereas like, if it's a commercial real estate style business, you have 1 guy that might be a heck of a lot better writing all the business proposals, and 1 guy might be a better job at doing the pitch to get the business. So then those 2 things come in, they complement each other. You have a yin and a yang. But in this business, it's like, it doesn't work. And it was the longest 9 months of my life. And I'm sorry I didn't nip it in the butt sooner. Fortunately, not as much damage was done as it could have been, but literally it was like being divorced when I wasn't divorced. I was supporting like his family and my family at the same time. And just thank God, I got taken care of sooner rather than later. So just you got to go at it slowly. Don't rush into it because you think you're getting super busy and you need all this extra support. But you got to know like where the consistency is of the business, so that that you can actually properly be able to bring these people on. Because if you're not going to offer them something of worth and value, then why are they going to come join and work with you anyways? So.
Mm-hmm. Laura, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would I think both Irene and Mark give great points in terms of team and how to really build that. And I think it's really important. And if you want to know how to make mistakes in that, certainly call me, because I've made many. But for me, I mean, I'm sure there's some agents on the call here that, maybe are still starting out, or they're not ready to hire somebody yet. And I think that the things that I would sort of encourage or to perhaps think about is, if you were to look at yourself every day and you were to say, did I show up today? And if I was working for somebody else with the amount of work I did and the hours that I worked, would somebody else hire me? Would this be a full-time job? I think sometimes people get in real estate and they think to themselves, well, I run my own business, I can do what I want. And they invest time when there's business there to be had. So they're working with the buyer that they have, or they're working with the listing that they have, as opposed to looking at it as, I work from 9 to 6, or I work from, 9 to 9 often, as we do. And those are my hours, and I'm working during that time, as opposed to I'm just working on this one thing. Like, I actually have a job that I go to every day. I think about getting up every day and going to work. I'm running a business, but I go to work every single day at that business. And I think, I mean, when I talk to the agents on our team and I talk about, where their business is at and where they want it to go, the one thing that I always say is that it's really about the number of conversations that you're having, and the quality of those conversations is going to be directly proportionate to the amount of real estate business that you do. If you're not doing enough business, you're not having enough conversations about real estate, and the quality of the conversation that you're having is not at the level that it needs to be, so that when people talk to you, they're like, wow, she really knows real estate. And I think if your business isn't where you want it to be, whether you're a $2 million producer or a $200 million producer, regardless of where you are in that, if there's not enough conversations being had, it'll be difficult to grow your business. You have to increase the number of conversations in order to increase your business.
Yeah, and sorry, I want to add in just one final thing on that too. Is
Yeah.
that you want to build your team based on culture. So you want to surround yourself with like-minded people. So if someone has a real me attitude, that's not the person you want to bring onto your team, because they're going to be in it for one thing and one thing only, and that's to serve themselves. The whole point of growing a team is that the team benefits each other. So if one person can't be somewhere, then that other team member can step up and jump in and has no problems doing it, because they know they would get the same reciprocal coverage if they need the help from the other person on the team, right? So it's, it's got to be, it's almost like it becomes a family. It should become a family where you guys want to be able to hang out and spend time and be together. But, obviously, with the hierarchy where everything falls into play, but it's got to be where, it's like if you're resenting walking into your office there because you got to see these people, those aren't the people you want on your team.
Totally.
Yeah, good point. Good way.
Yeah, Janice, before you go on to the next question, if I could add one more thing, just piggybacking onto what Laura said, you're absolutely dependent on the number of conversations you have, and definitely the quality, because sometimes we focus on the quantity at the expense of quality. So you definitely want to have those kinds of good conversations. And when it comes time for your first assistant, so you are a single agent, you don't have a team yet, and you don't think that you can afford an assistant, you have to think about everything that you're doing throughout the day that isn't one of those conversations that's generating business. So what are you doing as far as paperwork, and what are you doing with marketing and all of those things that are not your best dollar per hour activity? You need to figure out what is the goal of the money that you want to make, so that you can work towards that, and what are the activities that you need to do to get yourself there. And for us, it's lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, write contracts, and scripts and role play. And if you're not doing those things, you should be hiring somebody else to do them, because that is a very important role, yet it's one that you shouldn't be spending your time on, because you should be looking to maximize those conversations.
That's a common mistake a lot of people do make, because if they are so busy and they want to grow, and agents, you typically want more money or more time. And if they think they hire a buyer agent first, they're going to get more time. But all that means is, if you don't have an admin first to start and help support your business, you're the admin, and now you're doing it for two people. So it's really cutting into lead gen. So great advice. I can just listen to you guys talk all the time, right? It's wanting me to get back into real estate and transacting full time too. So the energies you guys are bringing. So if you're looking for, we talked about kind of what you've had bringing your success up to this point. What are you doing anything differently, or how are you looking at like the next 90 days? Because Mark touched on it earlier that, this isn't going to be over next week, and we're going to be in this for the long haul. So what are you doing to set up your business, or to be poised to have the continued success that you're having?
Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, ladies first.
Oh, sure. I'll go first. For us,
chivalry is not dead.
Love it.
Yeah, we're honestly, I'd love to say we've got some grand plan to do something vastly different. I don't think we do. We're going to dig in a little more to our existing clients. We're doing a little bit of a refresh, sort of building on our brand. And, but other than that, we're really just, nose to the grindstone. It's not sexy or exciting. It's really just more conversations, more dialogue. We traditionally have generated a lot of business from open houses. We're all a little bit handcuffed with that. We are doing virtual open houses. I'd love to know more about Mark and what he's doing with video, because quite honestly, we've endeavored down that path a little bit, and we're definitely, you know, I know one of the questions you asked us, Janice, was what would we do differently? And I think I would love to engage more in that. It's definitely something we could improve. I'm a little hesitant to sort of rely upon any kind of passive marketing and social media and things like that, because we have not been successful in converting any of those kinds of leads, like a couple, but nothing significant. But I do think that's an opportunity in the business overall, is more video and more online presence.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, people are lonely. They're home and they're sitting doing, you know, not seeing people. They're not being interactive. Human beings are social by nature. We need personal interaction. So this is one of those times where, what a phenomenal time to pick up the phone if you haven't really been doing it from before, and actually be calling through and talking to people in your database, because it doesn't have to be about real estate. Just think of it, because it will lead to real estate eventually. But the fact that you just even called and said, you know, hey, Irene, it's Mark. Just want to call and say hi, see how you're doing, make sure everything's okay. You're going to be like, oh my God, that is so nice. So great to hear from you. And then it's going to lead right into how's the market, what's happening, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it's going to start a whole new level of conversation. So if you've been shy with the phone, well, you know what? It's a great time to be able to pick up the phone. And, you know, it's one of the things, you know, I've found a big difference of just, you know, because you get so wrapped up in that on the go. And it's one of the things that we probably typically will usually put on the back burner, because it's just because we get so consumed with everything else. But I'm telling you, if you spend 45 minutes each morning, made 5 to 10 phone calls, whatever you think you can manage, do it first thing in the morning, get it over with, you will see massive results in your business. Like, for sure. I can't see how you couldn't. And that's probably one of the biggest, you know, easiest things to do without having to really get out, you know, like outside the box. I mean, video as a whole, and, you know, online conversion and social media, that's a whole nother 2-hour, 3-hour conversation, which we probably don't have time for today. But that's probably like my biggest advice right there.
Yeah, you guys both have kind of gone down the same path in that it's almost back to basics. And, you know, one of the things that we talk with our agents a lot about is making those care calls, because you're right. People, you know, they want to have that, some sort of community. And we always tell everyone to lead with the 3 C's, and it's care, compassion, and common sense. And the common sense kind of comes in where, if they ask you about the market or they ask you about real estate, then they've kind of opened the door to have that conversation and turn that in from just a like, hey, how you doing, to now a business conversation, right? Because everyone is curious. Yeah. And I think there's some comfort in people knowing that there is a lot of transacting going on, right? Like, the world is not coming crashing down. You know, most people's biggest asset is not going to be worthless. You're like, they need to have that comfort as well.
Well, and unfortunately, the media does an awful job of really reporting to what's going on. And, you know, they talk about, you know, the volume's down and the number of sales are down dramatically. Well, yeah, but also the number of listings are down dramatically, right? So, you know, like, tell the whole picture, not the small picture, not just part of the picture. And that's our jobs, where we can really come in and step up our game by telling the bigger picture as to what's going on, because everybody wants to have the conversation. And the fact that you call with just no real hidden agenda, that you're just trying to be a genuinely good person and call and just say, I just want to say hi, people are going to be so receptive to that. So,
right.
And I think, to add to that, Mark, I think people appreciate the optimism around the market too. I mean, I'm very optimistic about it. If you look at the stats in May, every week, on the number of showings that were booked on properties and the number of offers that were booked on properties, week by week, it has increased substantially. It was almost a 95% increase in the number of showings in May over April. Like, those are phenomenal leading numbers that are going to really drive what happens to the market in June and July. And I think for most people, like, to hear that positive news when everything they've been hearing hasn't been so positive, I think, you know, again, you're going to attract people to you because you're talking in a positive, happy way.
Well, and it's enough of the negative. People want to hear the positive.
Totally.
Right? So
Yeah.
they want to know like there's good stuff happening out there and there's things to look forward to. And, you know, I keep saying this all along is that I think, you know, people are set up. They want to get out of their houses. They want to get their lives back on track. They want to start getting more back to normal. For people, given, you know, again, with interest rates being as low as they are, for a lot of people that are in like the lower, like, you know, the condos or like, you know, the smaller houses, I also realize, if I'm getting locked down again, I can't live in my house like this. I need more space, right? And that becomes like this great buying and selling opportunity for a lot of people. And you're going to see that really start to happen. Unfortunately, you're also going to see the divorce stuff start to happen even more. But because if your marriage was already a little bit shaky, this probably did not help. But, you know, it's part of life and away we go.
Yeah, if I could just sort of tack on a little bit to that, definitely the care calls that we've all been doing, or my internet's a little bit unstable. I hope you guys can still hear me. Can I get some nods? Okay, good. What I did right away, especially at the beginning, because it sort of mid to end of March, things really did grind to a bit of a halt. So I just doubled down on my lead gen time. I blocked off 2 hours in the morning and a whole hour in the afternoon, and I would just sit on the phone. Now, obviously, we have a great database. I'm very grateful for that. So we had a lot of people to call. And yeah, what started as the care and compassion calls did eventually turn into business, just like Laura and Mark said. And people do want to hear the truth about what's going on, not the unicorns and rainbows. Oh, everything's going to be great. They need to know the facts. So when the number of sales in May dropped, 70%. Well, yes, they went from almost 10,000 sales to 3,000 sales, but that was still 3,000 sales. And when you have the opportunity to speak to somebody about that and say, you know what, this isn't unicorns and rainbows, this is data. So yes, like Mark said, there's fewer properties sold because there's fewer listings. It's still 3,000 transactions, right? So there's still business going on.
It'll never be zero.
It's never going to zero, no matter what happens, whether it's divorce, death, relocation. We had 2 relocations throughout all of this, move out of one out of the province completely and one just out of the city. So there's always something going on. And if you start with that, how are you? What can I do for you outside of real estate? How can I help you? If you start with that servant's heart and then listen, and they will give you the opportunity to talk business if there's business to be talked about.
Yeah, and
but it's on their terms.
Yeah, just and back to Irene's point, just real quick, is if you're going to get into the stats and what's going on, just make sure you know your stuff before you have the conversation. Don't go in half-assed and just try and talk off the top of your head, because you're going to make yourself look kind of dumb and silly. So, you know, like whether you're talking about like months of inventory or, you know, a number of sales and, you know, last year compared to this year, just take the 10 minutes to review and make sure you know that before you get into that kind of information.
Mm-hmm. And if you're a Broker Bay office, he's been sending out a video once a week, and it really does a great job of summarizing a lot of the stats, right? Laura mentioned that, last week it was the showings and the number of offers were kind of at pre-COVID, pre-pandemic numbers. And this week, there's been such a bump that it's now you can see the trends going up in all categories. And now we're in a spring market. We're at those numbers historically. So that's a good point. Definitely need to know your numbers. And that's with anything and any time, really.
Yep.
Yeah. So here, continuing that about like what you're seeing going forward, what's one trend or something that you're doing differently in the last 90 days? What's one thing that you're going to continue doing that you feel is going to enhance your business that was different than what you were doing 3 months ago?
Pick me.
Lead us off.
No, I want to go. Irene, no, I got you.
We have no fun in this industry.
No, not at all. I have to tell you, as you know, as devastating as the world situation has been, and there's been so much tragedy, there's also been so many silver linings throughout all of this. And we as a team have just found so many more efficiencies. And it's amazing. You just get into this groove of doing business, and you do it because that's how you have done things always, and that's how you keep on doing them. So one of the big things that we put into place right away is for any unagented inquiries. So any, and we had a lot of them. April seemed to be very, very high for our listings. So buyers or prospects that didn't have agents that wanted to see the properties, we would absolutely make them jump through so many hoops. They'd have to sign the forms. We'd make them sign a BRA for that property, or we just wouldn't show up and show it to them. And they're such simple things. Like why didn't we think of this before? I know we ask people if they're working with agents, we sometimes shy away from that, but at this point we're just nobody from my team is going to show up unless they have a BRA signed for that particular property, right? And certainly Zoom interviews, the initial listing consultation, and certainly any buyer consultation we can now do via Zoom. So it cuts down on the travel time.
Yeah.
We'll have the resources. Like there's just been a lot of efficiencies that we're going to take forward into, not just the next 90 days, but into our business.
Very cool. Laura, you want to add on to that, or is there anything that
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Irene. One of the first things I did was look at our expenses and figure out where can I cut expenses professionally and personally. I have 2 offices. I got rid of one of them immediately. So I looked at expenses really closely. I don't deal with a ton of buyers. I do a few a year, but not many. But the agent on our team who deals with most of the buyers, she immediately switched to doing Zoom consults, and we weren't sure how that was going to play out. How are people going to respond to that? We do a pretty thorough job with our buyers when we meet with them, and her feeling is that she actually found it easier to get appointments with people because it was like there was no hurdles to, yeah, I'll get on a Zoom call with you and walk through that, no problem. Whereas, come to the office, let's meet, all of that seemed to create some hurdles for people. So she has picked up a ton of buyers over the last 3 months under contract that I think as I said, the hurdles to doing business was a little less than maybe it had been before. And we don't ever work with a buyer unless they're under contract with us.
Yeah, I was going to say Zoom's been huge. I mean, we've been doing full listing presentations on Zoom. So because you can screen share, so you can kind of go through your whole presentation. Now, again, like anything, practice with someone first before you go and do it.
Yeah.
So that you know what you're doing, so you don't actually get caught stumbling through it and make yourself look like you're not professional. Because again, you got to be the professional person, because that's what you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be. But yeah, I mean, Zoom is just great because it saves so much travel time. And you can get actually a lot more appointments done because you don't have to worry about the in-betweens going on to the next one. You can just end one, start the next one, right? So away you go. But I think, again, I keep going back to video, is I think, if you can't be in front of the person face to face, this is the next best thing. So whether it's through Zoom, FaceTime, or however you're going to do it, I think it should and has to be incorporated into your business practices for sure.
And Mark, well, you have the floor, so to speak. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about the videos. Like, how do you, because that seemed to be, I was getting some text messages as well, and Laura commented. How are you incorporating that in? Are they on your blog, or is it part of your, drip campaigns? Like, why don't you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. There's so many different ways you can do it. So, if it's if it's a listing video, then what we do is we always have a dedicated website for each of our listings. Then we put the video into there so that it goes right on the first page when you go onto that link for that house. So if it's 123mainstreet.com, you click on the link and the video for that home is right there. We have 2 versions. We have a branded version and a non-branded version. So obviously to make it MLS compliant, we put the non-branded one up. So make sure we're compatible for the rules. Obviously now things have changed a little bit because they're allowing people to be a little bit more free with what's going on. But then I also take the videos and we put them into IGTV through Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. And then if we're doing just regular straight up videos about just profiling somebody or talking to somebody, again, it just goes right up straight upload and away you go. I think the problem with video, or a lot of people get really confused, is that they think that it has to be like this really professional, like, you know, cinematography and cinematic, you know, sound effects and all this crazy. No, you're just trying to get a message across, right? You want people to see who you are, what you're all about, see your personality, you know, what you have to offer. Don't try and be something that you're not. Don't overthink it. Just do it. You know, like Nike said it best, just do it. Like don't, and people get all fussed about, you know, what if I look heavier or I look skinnier, my hair, it doesn't matter, because once they eventually see you in real life, guess what? That's who you are, right? So it's irrelevant. So, but you know, it's one of those things where you can have a lot of fun with it too. You know, we're gonna start doing it where we put up blooper reels, just like, you know, because like not everything.
Oh, I wanted to do that.
Yeah. So
what? Sorry, I missed that.
Blooper reels, like where you,
okay.
you know, like you're filming something and then you're like, you know, like just put a bunch of those little stupid things together, because like people like to see that you're a real person, right? You know, that's like the main agenda there, is to make sure that people see you are who you are, and you got to have like that really good balance of doing it where you, I mean, this is not getting off video, getting more social media, but don't make it all about real estate. If you're going to make it all about real estate, people aren't going to give you the time and day, because they want to know that you have a life and that you're a real person, and that you're not all just about work.
And are you filming it on your, like, are you filming it yourself, or you have somebody filming it for you?
It all depends on what's going on. So if it's for listing, then I have a professional videographer who comes in and does it for me and does all the editing. So I don't want to have the time to think about it and start putting it all together. If you're at a stage in your business where you can't afford to hire somebody, you can definitely easily do it off your phone, because again, you're just trying to tell a story. So again, don't overcomplicate it. Just keep it simple. The cameras on the phones today are all phenomenal. So just make sure you got all the lights on, and away you go. If you can get either use a headset or you know, lapel microphone, like you can get them off Amazon for like $30. Like they're super cheap, as Irene's holding one up right there.
$19.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, and they're easy breezy you don't have to worry about it. And, you know, then, you know, if you have it on your phone, you can just upload it right onto your social media, and away you go. The only catch is if you put anything on LinkedIn, it can't be longer than 10 minutes because LinkedIn won't take it. If it's for Instagram, if it's going to be longer than a minute, then you got to put it into IGTV. So everyone, if you don't know what that is, it's Instagram television, where you can upload it, and then you can go and have it be as long as you want it to be. And then, you know, if we're doing things like, you know, when we were doing community events, you know, we bring in, again, our videographer to come in and videotape it, because then he can go back and slice it all together and keep it nice and short and sweet. If you're doing a listing video, keep it under 3 minutes. Don't go anything longer than that, because you're going to lose people's attention. They just won't. ADD kicks in, and people just won't concentrate that much and hear your message, what you have to say. But, you know, if you're working in a particular neighborhood, like, get out your phone and, like, just, you know, you're walking down the street and start filming things, what's happened. Like, just be creative and have fun. Don't overthink it, but just, like, go with the natural flow of what you think might be. If it's interesting to you, it'll probably be interesting to the people who are following you. So.
And I think, you know, the idea about just be you, it cannot be any more true right now, especially over the last 3 months when everybody's been, you know, sheltered at home. We've seen CNN reporters with, you know, their kids in the back, and, you know, babies are screaming and dogs are barking, and you know what? Life still goes on, business still gets done. videos still get watched, news still happens. Like we've all been exposed, and like it's felt like a long time, but really it's 3 months. Like the last 3 months have really changed the world, and everybody's just realized, like, you know what, it's okay. Everything's okay.
Yeah,
And
I think like the anal retentiveness of like being so polished and so posh has actually kind of gone out by the wayside now, and it's really gotten into like the au natural, and it's like,
authentic.
yeah, exactly. Like, I was on a panel for a Zoom call, and because people know, like, kids are home, being homeschooled and running around, like there's just, you only have so much privacy in your home that you can go and hide, right?
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, that's so true. And Samantha had shared that for videos that are longer than 10 minutes for LinkedIn, you can upload it to YouTube and then just put the YouTube post in.
Yeah, I just think it's a little bit better when you have it embedded right in the feed, because as opposed to having to click on the link, it just gives it a little bit more authenticity to it, to what your message you're trying to convey. I mean, obviously, like, you can take advantage of YouTube, Vimeo. I mean, there's so many different platforms you can use. But I mean, I just think, like, obviously your LinkedIn, your Instagram, and your Facebook are the big three players right now for what we do. So.
Very good. I'm probably just going to ask like another question, and then just letting people that are tuning in right now live, if you have questions, just you can kind of like tee them up and get ready. If you want to ask anyone specifically from the three panelists. So I have a question on what would you do differently, or what do you think you could do differently that would positively impact your business going forward? What's one thing you think that you might incorporate, or wish you had, or will be doing differently? Do you want to start us off, Laura?
Sure. Yeah, so for us, I am like over the moon excited. We just hired a new operations manager. She's been with us 3 weeks. I'm not even sure it's been 3 weeks. I think she's just starting her 3rd week. And already she's making just an unbelievable step change in our business, which I'm super excited about. We switched over to Command last year. We transitioned our database from Top Producer to Command. And Jen, my new operations manager, she's really driving change to Command to leverage a lot of the technology that's there. And I'm so excited for what's to come. So for us, we're really making a focus on that and really leveraging the technology to really help us to take our business to the next level. And the other thing is now, I've sort of held back from growth, from a expansion of bringing agents on, because I wanted to make sure that the foundation was strong enough to really support the growth. We've been very fortunate. The last 2 Rookies of the Year in the brokerage and the last growth launch agent all came from our team. So I feel like we have like the right stuff in place, and now we've got the right people in place, like tying it into sort of the people and the leverage thing. We've got the right people for leverage and the right systems for leverage. And now it's about, having a couple of other great agents join us. So I'm like, I honestly couldn't be more optimistic about the future and the opportunity that is ahead of it. Just not for us, but for everybody. Like, I think we really, as a company and as an entity, we have an opportunity to really make positive change in the world. So I'm really excited about it all.
Well, congratulations on that. And your enthusiasm and passion definitely shows through. Who would like to follow that?
Well, I'm with you, Laura, on the positivity and optimism, and it's really great when you can truly believe it and it comes from deep inside, because people it resonates with them, and it really shows through without having to make stuff up. So I'm with you on that. I don't know if I can answer your question, Janice, because we have already been doing everything differently that we wanted to do. We had our whole year of events planned for clients. So I guess if anything, I would like to figure out either a safe way to do that without over zooming everybody, because I think that people are just, they're zoomed out. And you know, like Mark said, with social creatures, so there's only so much partying you can do via Zoom. So
Yeah.
That's something, you know, we had spent a long time planning the whole year. So I really hope that we can do some version of that this year. I don't know what it's going to look like. When I figure it out, I can let you know.
Okay.
Yeah. I gotta find a new assistant. That's like the biggest thing I need to get going right now is, and I hate to say this, but, and if there's any millennials who are on this call right now, I apologize, but those guys got a rude awakening coming to them. They don't figure out how to up their game from their work ethic standpoint. It's like just, that's unbelievable. But yeah, no, that's my biggest thing right now is just trying to find a new EA. So, or admin, to get everything covered in the back end, because it's just, you know, things are getting a little bit shoved off to the side because as things keep getting busier and busier. It's just, you know, there's only so much I can do.
Well, hopefully she's not listening.
Definitely makes a massive difference having the right people around you and in the organization. And as I said earlier, like I've failed a lot of times on that. And your point about, you know, take a long time to hire and fire quickly is, you know, is bang on. And I think when you do get the right people, like that, it really feels so different. Like it just feels so different, and you really feel like you can fly, and everybody's moving in the same direction, and it's just it's so awesome. So
it's finding talent versus just hiring somebody, right?
Totally.
So we do have a question, and if anybody wants to touch on this, based on your experiences, at what stage did you find moving from a, you know, as a single agent, when you were a single agent, moving from a part-time assistant to a full-time? So if someone's a single, did you have success, or did you think about having 2 part-time assistants, or just going right to 1 full-time?
I can talk to this. I'm extremely conservative financially. I have a hard time spending money or investing money. And so the idea that I was going to now be responsible for somebody else's salary from my salary, I was like, oh, I don't think I can do this. And, you know, despite having a lot of people around me supporting me and telling me, like, if you want to grow, you got to do this, you got to do this. And I really didn't want to. And I started off part-time. I hired somebody part-time. And then I, you know, still wasn't comfortable with it. I ended up partnering with somebody else and sharing somebody full-time. And then eventually I hired somebody full-time, and now I've sort of had a couple of iterations of that. I think if you have the right person, making the investment in the having the right assistant, making that investment, I really believe what they say, it will transform your business. It is the best investment for the right person that you can possibly make. And tiptoeing into it part-time, I think is, going backwards, I think it held me back. I think had I hired the right person full-time right out of the gate, our business would have grown faster, sooner.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to reach out. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say, like, think about it logically. Like, you don't need to be doing $25 an hour tasks. That's not your job. Your job is to go out there and get business, secure business, make deals happen, deal with your clients, and that's it. You should not be doing administrative paperwork, all that other stuff that's in behind the scenes that just doesn't, it's just not a good use of your time. Plus, the other thing is, you become more successful. The idea is leverage just becomes the hugest component of all this, right? So like, if you have someone there that can take care of all that back end, it gives you either the freedom to be doing the things that you want to be doing, which is like going out and getting business, or spending time with your family, if you have family, or doing, you know, if you're like a, you know, a cyclist or a runner or whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you happy, that you got that time to go and actually do those things, right? So And if you're, once you're about making, my theory is about, if you're making about $300,000 a year, then you should be having a full-time assistant.
And you know, if anybody wants to reach out, I'm happy to share some information. But to think about, you know, these are great points that you said, and just, you know, you have to just jump in. But you have to remember that you're not just jumping in at a full annual salary that's coming out of your pocket. Like, you can set up structure where in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you've got benchmarks along the way. So your total exposure, if you don't know that you have the right person, could only be 90 days, right? It's not like you've committed to somebody for full time. So
Yeah.
I've got some info around that. I'm happy to share. So just reach out to me. And Irene, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, absolutely. The challenge, of course, is to get the right person from the start, and then make sure that you are tracking their activities and making sure that you're keeping them accountable to be doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And if they are, then you spend your time looking for more new business so that you could grow that end of the business. And then they naturally have enough to do, and you should be making 2 to 3 times what their annual salary is. There's some agents that I know that got an assistant as soon as they got into the business, because they came from some kind of business or corporate structure where they knew that if they got somebody right away to do that $20 to $25 an hour work, then they could spend their time doing the dollar productive activity.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the life of a transaction from lead gen to the offer and getting paid, the lead gen and the offer part are like here. This whole middle part, and I think on average it's like, you know, 40 to 50 hours is what they say from a total transaction. So, but everything in the middle could be offloaded to an assistant. So if you could take like 30 to 40 hours from every transaction you do and offload that to somebody, so you've got that income generating 30 to 40 hours, then yeah, you're setting yourself up for a lot more business.
Yeah, and just to sort of build on what everybody was saying and tie it back to one of the things that I said earlier, I look at those tasks and I say to myself, is this moving me closer to my goal or not? And if this paper, like doing this paperwork, does that move me closer to my goal of whatever my financial goals are or my personal goals? Probably not. So then I shouldn't be doing it. So who else can be doing it? And if you, for me, things have to be super simple. So how can I make each decision based on something really simple? So is it moving closer to what I want or further away? And I haven't found a way for admin tasks to move me closer to my goal. So I don't do them.
Brilliant. We do have a question from Allison, and probably directed towards Mark. Have you figured out how you can measure your ROI on your social media marketing and videos?
Great question. And unfortunately, the answer is no.
Thanks for the honesty.
Yeah, it's not, it's a hard thing to kind of really fully measure.
Right.
Because I mean, you know, I get people coming up to me all the time saying, "Oh my God, I love your social media. You got great content and it's so good," which is awesome. And that means people, you know, are watching it and are seeing it. But you know, it's like same thing like with like having like a bus shelter ad, which I have in my farm area. Can I put a direct number on, does that, having that shelter give me an actual dollar return? No, but it's all encompassing, right? So it's all part of the overall greater picture of what you're doing. So it's like, you know, someone sees you here and then someone sees you there and someone sees you here. It's called the reticular activator, right? So it's a part of your brain that just, you know, once you start thinking about something and you start noticing something all over the place, and you want that person that they know is all over the place to be you, right? So if that's how they're seeing you, you know, then that's what counts. So
yeah,
put an actual dollar amount on it, it's hard to say. But the thing is, guys, it's 2020. You know, like we're going forward into the future here. So if you're not embracing social media at this point, you're gonna have a harder time trying to grow a business with a little bit of a younger crowd. You know, if you're working with a lot of, you know, older people and senior people, then okay, that's fine, be what it'll be. But if you're in that, I think that snap bracket between, you know, obviously up to anywhere, say between 35 and 60, like it's the here and it's the now. It's not going anywhere, right? So get on the gravy train and start embracing it because you needed it to be part of your tools that you have in your arsenal in order to be successful. Because the days are long gone of putting a sign on the lawn, putting an ad in a crappy newspaper that's going to cost you $700 that's not going to generate one phone call. Like it just like print like that kind of print it doesn't work anymore. So majority of all consumers, they are going online as their first stop before when they start looking for real estate. So you have to be online. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Awesome.
know how else to say it.
No, it's true. It makes sense. It's hard because you're layering on your brand and your exposure. And I mean, yeah, our office is across the street from yours, and my Raz has already activated that. My God, Mark's everywhere. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And under the category of getting to know you personally, I'm going to ask this question to all of you. So as Toronto's entering into stage 2, stage 3, what's the first restaurant or patio, or what's the first thing that you're going to do once we hit stage 2?
Oh my gosh, I've forgotten what it feels like. 3 months feels like 3 years.
Yeah, was that
okay.
In 30 seconds or less?
No, you know what? I'm dying to go, and because it's summertime, I want to go sit on a nice patio somewhere and like Tronies in Summerhill. And I just want to be outside, have a nice dinner with my wife or with my kids or it doesn't matter. Either way, I'm all good. And just sit and relax and be amongst other people. It's more than just the immediate guys that work for me or my immediate family. I want to start living my life again.
Yeah.
I want to hug people. And I want to shake their hands when I meet. Yeah.
Good. Laura, you want to wrap up on what's the first thing you want to do?
I want to have a beer with you on Queen Street.
Sold. Good. Well, listen, as I said, I want to honor everyone's time. So thank you to the participants for tuning in and the great questions. And Mark, Laura, Irene, your wealth of knowledge, thank you so much for your generosity, for sharing.
Pleasure.
Anytime, Janice. Appreciate very much being invited to join you. And if anybody has any follow-up questions afterwards, they want to reach out to me, please do. I'm more than happy to chat with anybody about helping them to get to the next level. So
perfect. They can just reach out to me, and I can forward your info.
Sure.
Yeah, same thing. Likewise, I'm always happy to help out in any which way I can. Any questions? Obviously, NorthTorontoLiving.com.
What's your website, though? How are we going to find you?
I don't know. What is it? It's called Marketing 101, guys. Marketing 101. Instagram. Follow me, Mark Arnstein on Instagram, or North Toronto Living TV on Instagram. No problem. Happy to chat.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Well, listen, going to wish everyone a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy the sunshine and the rest of the beautiful weather that we've got coming up.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Awesome. All the best.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.